there's some quality about CPAC right now and the entire Republican movement. I mean, when you contemplate, like, what are they running on? In Michigan, the polling is, the economy is number one, and they are deathly afraid that the economy is improving in some ways. The biggest drag, I think, in terms of the way that people are experiencing the economy is the cost of housing in this country. Like, I would say in terms of like one universal issue. It's unclear. It doesn't appear to be anything that's happening in terms of doing that. It's conceivable that if interest rates are dropped over the course of the next year, you'll see rents come down a little bit because people will be able to sell their houses, and then people will be able to buy houses, et cetera, and that'll free up some of the rentals. We'll see.
We need more housing, though, in general.
But from the perspective of the Republican Party, the only affirmative thing that they are arguing for is some variation of racism or xenophobia. And it's like, and you see it in that Megyn Kelly clip where she's like, it's DEI. And that's what Jews really are coming to realize. You don't want to have any type of like representation of people in institutions. But it's almost like a maypole where like every single issue they have is attached to it, and they just keep walking around it. And it's all tied back into this. But here is the maypole himself, Stephen Miller, talking about what Donald Trump is going to do in terms of immigration. It is the race between the two presumptive candidates to prove that they hate immigrants more is fascinating, particularly since we know that the economy is greatly improved by the presence of immigrants, that the American public, by and large, are supportive of immigrants. It is just that the Democratic Party
like want to act like there's some sort of rivalrous nature between immigrants and American workers.
Exactly. And the Democratic Party, at least, as of late, has decided that they're going to concede that there is some type of crisis going on, as opposed to a crisis of our simply having the apparatus in which to deal with it. There is not we don't have we didn't have a problem with taxation when the IRS was underfunded. We had a problem in collecting taxes.
Our system of processing migrants is threadbare, underfunded, not completely archaic. It needs to be modernized and standardized so that we can get people to make their asylum claims formally.
You don't decide we're not going to have taxes anymore because our IRS is underfunded and therefore we can't collect them. No, you fund the IRS. And that's what you do.
Also, we should just say, like, America's not the only place where people are being displaced to. Like, you look at around the Great Lakes region of Africa or around, say, Ukraine and Poland. Like, a lot of places are dealing with displaced people. We've displaced many ourselves, actually, if you look closer. So that's an important thing. It's not just, like, the West being flooded here.
Here is Stephen Miller, the maypole, if you will, of the Republican Party's stance on immigration.
We're going to end with this non-controversial topic, immigration. We have President Biden importing.
Pause it 1 second. The funny part about this is that there is no controversy at that in that building.
Unfortunately, yeah.
There is no controversy. You will not hear when Stephen Miller lays out the plan. You will not hear a single person go, boo.
Yeah, the controversy is whether we should shoot immigrants on sight or allow them to drown in the Rio Grande by being cut by razor wire.
We're going to end with this non-controversial topic, immigration. We have President Biden importing 10 million people into this country. A lot of these people are unvetted. They don't share our values. They don't want to assimilate many of them. And so I'm going to start this with Stephen Miller, who's been the tip of the spear on immigration. What should we be doing in a Trump 47 administration to fix this disaster, this invasion of our southern border?
Well, as I say sometimes, the immigration issue is extremely simple. The policies involved in fixing it are very complicated. The simple part is seal the border, deport all the illegals.
Very controversial.
That's the short answer, right? You get in, you have two policy objectives that you proceed with utter determination on. Seal the border, no illegals in, everyone here goes out. That's very straightforward. In terms of the policy sets to accomplish this, as President Trump showed in his first term, it's a series of interlocking domestic and foreign policies to accomplish this goal. In no particular order, just to rattle off a few fast, you have your Safe Third agreements, you have Remain in Mexico, finish the wall, you have robust prosecutions of illegal aliens, you do interior repatriation flights to Mexico, not back to the north of Mexico. Okay. It's very important. You re-implement Title 42. You have several muscular 212Fs, that's the travel ban authority. We did a few of those in the Trump administration. You would bring those back and add new ones on top of that. You would establish large-scale staging grounds for removal flights. So you grab illegal immigrants and then you move them to the staging grounds, and that's where the planes are waiting for federal law enforcement to then move those illegals home. You deputize the National Guard to carry out immigration enforcement, and then you also deploy the military to the southern border, not just with a mission to observe, but with an impedance and denial mission. In other words, you reassert the fundamental constitutional principle that you don't have a right to enter into our sovereign territory, to even request the asylum claim. The military has the right to establish a fortress position on the border and to say no one can cross here at all. Yes.
Oh, that's a smug look. What would a large-scale staging ground look like? I mean, just let's think about it. And we don't want them to leave, right? So we got to stage them in a place, warehouse them.
Would you concentrate them?
Put a little fence around. Yeah. You would have to have guards on the outside. And then also the forces that are going around to find the illegals, right? Like they could be a special task force, a special police force, if you would. I don't want to call them the Gestapo, but a special police force that would go in throughout the country with hundreds of millions of people and go into homes and see, are you housing illegals here? Well, what are you doing? That kind of thing.
The thing that strikes me about what he's saying is just you're seeing the level of sophistication that these Trump people have after 4 years in terms of on day one, they're going to get in. And that guy who was interviewing, incidentally, was Mike Davis, who is part of the Article 3 project, right? That's 2025 mission.
Exactly.
And that mission, we're in the coming months, we'll go through it more extensively. But it is really, really disturbing stuff. One of the guys who wrote it also, huge theocrat. I mean, this is the thing, is that we hear this as if it's like some type of like, Trump project, at least the ideas of it. Like, this is the MAGA people. This is the Republican Party. The Heritage Foundation has been the cornerstone of the Republican Party for decades. And every one of those judges that Donald Trump appointed came from the Heritage Foundation. The Heritage Foundation was last headed by a Republican senator, I should say. I mean, this is the Republican Party. It's just that the people that Trump will install will be loyal to his brand within the Republican Party. And they're now far more sophisticated in terms of they know where the levers of government are. They know how to operate it. There's not going to be, some type of ramp up. They're not going to be crawling before they learn to walk, before they learn to run. Yeah. They're going to come in day one run. And I just want to say one more thing. Like, the whole premise of this thing that, like, the Republican anti-immigration sentiment is America first and our people first, et cetera, et cetera. I mentioned this briefly yesterday, but in Texas, where they have these razor wires, they have just decided that 3.8 million children in Texas will miss out on a chance for $120 worth of food per person from grocery stores, farmer markets, and other locations under a USDA program. There will be 21 million children across the country who are going to receive a total of 2.5 million benefits. Hawaii, New York, Guam, American Samoa, Osage Nation, and more. Children 18 years or old or younger are eligible to join the program free of charge, with a specific emphasis on low-income families. Each month, families will receive $40 per child, available on a prepaid card, and the government plans to cover half the administrative fees for participating schools so that they can eat during the summer when there's no student, lunch programs. And Texas, they're too busy spending their money and expelling their efforts on razor wire in the Rio Grande.
Yeah, right. And when he talks about the expulsion, by the way, the ones that were under the Trump administration, Biden is trying to reinstitute those for himself. So unfortunately, to your point at the beginning of this, there is not enough daylight between what Biden is proposing and what Trump is proposing. I mean, there's degrees of that would be horrific, what Miller's describing, but Biden is still conceding some of those points, which is disturbing.
Yeah.
Yep.
And what Miller went on a big list there, and he didn't name anything to do with enforcement against capitalists who would exploit undocumented labor. And that's because his boss, Donald Trump, I read Wayne Barrett's book on Trump, The Greatest Show on Earth, or something. I can't remember what it's called, but Wayne Barrett's book on Trump. Trump Tower was built using Polish workers who were undocumented. Those workers got asbestos, they got stiffed, they got upset to the point that they threatened to kill the representative Trump had hiring them. And you know what Trump did? He called ICE, because that's what it's actually for. Yep. It's for bosses when they have uppity undocumented labor, to call them, get them out. It's not about actually enforcing the law, as all these people like to say.